Hello YouTube world, my name is Nicholas Montez and you're watching my YouTube channel, The Teenage Movie Critic, and today we're going to be doing a end of the month list. Today is April 30th, hopefully I get this video posted by then. Today we are ranking all 9 new releases that I watched in the month of April 2024. It was actually kind of impressive. I feel like ever since maybe last month, or really starting this month, there's starting to be a lot more impressive movies. It gets me very excited for the next 2 months with May and June, because next month we get Fall Guy and The Idea of You, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and then in June we get Inside Out 2, Bad Boys for Life, A Quiet Place, Day 1, and in July, Deadpool and Wolverine. But it's going to be a pretty good next couple of months for movies, so I'm very, very excited for the next few months. With that said, let's go and get started talking about the April movies. And this is kind of the only film that I kind of didn't really like. Now, I gave it a solid score. It's like a B-, but I didn't particularly love the first movie either. So if you want to go see my full review on it, it's on my, well, it's not on my channel, but it's in my Zack Snyder ranking, but it's whatever. Now this one is actually a pretty good one. I did like this one. I thought the action was good, and I like that it's a World War II story with these fun actors, but it's also based off a true story, and I thought Guy Ritchie's ness around it was cool. However, wasn't a big fan of a lot of stuff. I just don't feel like Guy Ritchie is the type of director for me, and so that's why it's a little bit lower for me, but I still did kind of like it. And with this one, I would say it's up to this point in time, this is where I feel like the list starts to get good. And The Greatest Hits, while not necessarily a movie that I really remember, it is a film that I did really like, and I thought it was good for what we got. And I thought it was a good time travel story, but that's kind of all I really remember. I probably want to rewatch it again to get the awesomeness of it, and probably see a review to remind me of why it was good. But overall, it is still good though. Now, this one is actually a movie I saw today to get prepared for this list, because ever since I heard about this movie, I was actually really excited, because the idea of this deaf guy who has a voice in his head, and he's like killing people, and he's shooting people, all that stuff sounds awesome to me, and in a way, the movie it's a fun story. I will say, I kind of wish that the action, like the hardcore action that we get at the end of the movie where the punches hit hard, but it's really cool. I wish that we got a lot of that in the other half of the movie, where it just kind of feels weirdly edited. But overall, I did like the film. It's not a bad movie, but if you want a fun action movie, you're going to get it with it. Now, Musica was a pretty interesting little movie. I thought it was actually really good. I thought the story was good, and I liked the way it actually, like, certain elements of the movie were, like, the way the story was told. It was just overall really, really good. So Challengers is actually the most recent movie that I saw back this last weekend, and honestly, I thought it was actually pretty great. I was actually so surprised of how good this movie was. Because honestly, the main thing that was coming from this movie was the makeout scene with the two guys and Zendaya, which, in a way, it actually tricks you in a way, in the way you weren't expecting. So I thought it was kind of cool. The movie, of course, has plenty of sexiness with Zendaya, but it's not just about that. It also tells a story of these two men who try to get to compete with each other by trying to get this girl. And the way that everything happens, it's interesting with all the characters. Their characters are kind of unlikable, but I like the way the story goes. I like the way they establish their characters, and it was overall just a really good movie. Now, Monkey Man was actually a pretty clever film. I thought it was one of the most clever movies I've ever watched. I thought the way that it was basically Indian John Wick, in a way, where the way the story is told and this character who is on a revenge quest, and if you really think about it, it's John Wick with culture. That's basically what it is. But it's the best version of it. And while the action may not be as good as John Wick, it still has plenty of fun action that you want. I will say there are some tweaks I wish could have been better, but overall, because it was the directorial debut for Dev Patel, I thought it worked for what it was going for, and it was awesome. And Tiger, I loved this movie. Disney Nature once again brought another great Disney nature film that, of course, tugged at the heartstrings, where it was able to give us, once again, a great story of tigers, where we got to learn about their lives, we get to see the cuteness of the tiger cubs, but we also get to see what struggles they deal with, what the mother deals with in getting food for their cubs, and what happens when a male tiger comes involved and wants to eat them. The mama tiger is going to have to protect them. And even with other things that I wasn't expecting is, what does the mom do once the cubs get older? The mom can't hunt for the cubs anymore, and that is gonna have to teach them to get their own food and learn to hunt by themselves, for themselves. And I thought that was actually kind of interesting. Something else that I thought was actually kind of interesting is I loved, and I don't know if it's the way it was edited, but I also loved the way that the movie kind of created a world inside the Indian jungle, where there's a scene with a snake that you think it's about to eat the tiger cub, and you have all these animals making sounds, and it's like, with that, the mama tiger is out there, and she's like, she knows that that's the sign call for help. And you can kind of tell, like, sure, the tiger hunts the animals, the deer in the forest, but in a way, the tigers are kind of connected with the jungle in some sorts. And I think that's the coolest part about this film. Likewise, as a Disney nature film, it's gorgeous. And even just little animals that we get to see, like frogs, like kicking each other off it. You even get to see them eating the flies off the tiger's back, kind of like how a tick bird works for a rhino. Overall, this was a great film, and I also love that the ending didn't end with tigers are becoming extinct and we need to help them. This one actually is about tigers are, by the next year, tigers are increased, and they're doing well, and tigers are thriving. And it's a happy ending. It's a happy story. And it's the same thing with like biopics. I like when we get to learn about what the story's going. Even if it's about someone dead, I would like to at least end it off in a positive way instead of making it sad that this person's gone and celebrating it. I don't know. I guess that's just me, but overall, I loved Tiger. And this is one of the best movies that I've seen in a long time, man. Fun experience about this year for movies, especially in the theater, is going to see movies that are not in my particular genre. This past year before this, I saw Bob Marley One Love and Kung Fu Panda 4. Kung Fu Panda 4 is kind of my wavelength for films that I've seen, but Civil War was on a whole nother level because it's a war movie and it's a political movie. But let's talk about it because I never actually did a review on this movie. So, me personally, I absolutely love this movie, and what I absolutely loved about it is it does a different perspective on the war, where instead of taking a war movie and putting it in the perspective of the soldiers, it's doing a different interesting concept of putting it in the aspect of journalists. And you kind of get to see, like, how do people actually get these photos of, you know, these protests and these wars going on in different countries. And this movie does a great job of doing that and acknowledging what journalists go through when all these people that take pictures of the war stuff, what they deal with, what trauma they deal with, and that they actually deal with a lot of horrifying stuff, even though that's their job as journalists and reporters. And, but I think, but at the same time, it's not just about exploring them, but it also just explores, like as a Civil War film, it just has all these it just has all these horrifying sequences. These beautiful but terrifying sequences. Like this one sequence where this guy has our people cornered, and he's like, "We're American." And then he's like, "What kind of American are you?" And he asks, and he's like, "This is your colleague?" And the gunfire in this movie is horrifying. And even he asked this other guy, he's like, "I'm from Hong Kong, China." And as soon as he shoots that second gunshot, you feel the tension, and you start to feel scared. You feel the tension. It's like, oh! And that's the greatness of Alex Garland. I just saw his whole filmography, and almost all of his movies are disturbing and terrifying. But that's what makes them so good. And at the same time, it can also be exciting. The images in this movie are gorgeous, but also terrifying. And they just found such a great way to do it. And while you don't really care about how this war started, it does a great job of kind of acknowledging that. And honestly, I thought it was a brilliant movie. I'll do better of a review on it next year. I will. Because it's a brilliant, well-made movie. I loved this movie, and it's a movie that I'll never forget this year. But that's it. That's my ranking of all 9 movies that I saw in theaters for 2024 of April. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.